our show that River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show. Don't give us the bug. Don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show that River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show. Oh.
What more could you possibly want than a bit of disco on a Wednesday morning? Absolutely sensational stuff from the boys that put the intro music together. Welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Lewis Jones. Over the course of the next half an hour, we will be talking our way through the Wednesday night soccer, highlighting all of the best bets. We've got League Cup action, we've got Serie, we've got some Coppa Libertadores and Coppa Sudamericana. We'll be highlighting the baseball as well because we're into Game 5, of course, when it comes to the World Series. Lewis, how are you? A few disco beats for us ahead of kickoff today. We've got a lot of cup football. I mean, we're going to focus on the League Cup, obviously, in England, but there are German Cup fixtures, the Spanish Cup. There's an awful lot. I think there's Dutch Cup as well. Is it something that you like, that you get into? A lot of people shy away from it because of team news and so on. But, you know, the same rules apply for bookies as they do to bettors. So there's always opportunities. Always opportunities, Dan. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's having spent a few hours looking through the fixtures today, it's hard to I have to restrain myself a little bit from the fixture list because it is quite an exciting one, isn't it? Lots of all Premier League ties in this fourth round. This obviously Man City going to Tottenham, and you've got Liverpool, Brighton. There's Chelsea, Newcastle as well, and there's some great games on paper, isn't there? But I always like to sort of have to row back a little bit on these cup competitions, just approach them a little bit sort of trepidation, I suppose, because it can be very volatile, can't it? These games, you have to sort of tread carefully, I think, just because of team news, motivation levels. They're all sort of hard to quantify, aren't they, at the moment? So I am excited for the slate, I have to say, and I've found plenty of angles, but it's just whether you have to adjust your staking slightly, just to tread carefully a little bit with this fourth round of the Carabao Cup. So yeah, no, excited for the night. Just got to be sensible with staking, I think. Yeah, I think that is very, very fair. Get your comments in. We've got some already. Foxfeed said, "Good day, gents." Ming's talking about Napoli winning Serie A. We'll take a look at some Serie A games for you shortly. And Rich says, some shout out to Serie with Leeds call in the chat yesterday. Yeah, he also tipped up Brighton's academy side as well, didn't he, in the EFL trophy, talking about the fact that Wimbledon play MK Dons in the Cup, which is a tasty fixture in England this weekend. Talking about notable winners and losers, this is what we got from our Bet Rivers colleagues here. $20,000 winner. Loser on Francis Tiafoe in the Paris Masters. Don't know if that was Nigel with 20 large. It might be. He bets that way sometimes. We had 20,000 on the Yankees +1 on the handicap -102 against the Dodgers in MLB, which was a winner. Also had a Warriors $18,000 play against the Pelicans, which was a win. The Nuggets on the money line -107 live against the Nets was a win, $17,000, and 12,000 on the Dodgers on the money line +117, which was a loser. And of course, we told you about the market movement for the Yankees yesterday, and we've got all the trading news ahead of Game 5 a little bit later. Shakespeare, we expect your tip as well. Nigel's been back on. So it wasn't Leeds, it was Bolton. That was Nigel was talking about. Duncan says afternoon all. Rich says yes, Bolton. And Reece says, I owe Nigel a pint for the Bolton shout. Yeah, Nigel's been in fair form for us. Talking about Napoli, yeah, they are inching towards favouritism when it comes to the Scudetto. Not at the moment. They did win last night. Ming was on, as he mentioned. Favourites are Inter, of course, and we can take a look at some Serie A games for you off the bat. Get your picks in here if you fancy anything from a Serie A point of view. Empoli, Inter. You can see Inter a -235. They are short price favourites here. They are the favourites to win the Scudetto again, up against Empoli at +650, involved in that incredible Derby d'Italia at the weekend, a 4-4 draw against Juventus. Inter's only defeat this season to Milan. 3 of their 5 Serie A wins have been to 0. One of these games that potentially you think Inter might revert to type here. It might be a low-scoring game. Inter to win to 0, which is Inter to win an under 1 Empoli goal or under half Empoli goal. And if you throw in under 3.5 goals in the game, that comes up at +150, incidentally, if you want to follow me in with that one. All 9 Empoli games under 3.5 goals in Serie A this season. When it comes to the Bet Rivers
market movements. 98% of the money and tickets on Inter, and an awful lot of the money on overs. The over line is over 2.5 at -139 at the moment. That's Empoli against Inter. Venezia against Udinese. Venezia are bottom. They're +165 favourites to beat Udinese, +175. Draw +215 here. Udinese are 7th. The last 3 have been unders. The last 3 have been both teams to score. No, I'm not going to steal James and Will's thunder with shot on target plays here, but I looked at 1 or 2 players. Lorenzo Luca's got 4 goals so far this season for Udinese in just 9 appearances. Scored a lot of goals at Palermo not so long ago. He made his Italian national team debut in the autumn. He's even money +100 to have a shot on target or more, and +380 for an anytime goal scorer play. That's Venezia versus Udinese. And again, the market movers and the money bet rivers. Money line 90% and 79% of the tickets on Udinese, and overs is also the play. And we've had a near 4-figure play on Ica Bravo, under 2.5 total shots at -278, which is pretty short. Let's get on to Juventus against Parma, because Lewis has got a little bit of an in for us here. Juventus -250, short price favourites. Parma +650, tie +380. Over under 2.5 goals, -165 and +118. I mean, Juventus are a side, Lewis, that we were just talking about off air, that sort of reverted to type a little bit this season with a lot of unders with Thiago Motta. And then we're involved in that wild game against Inter at the weekend. I mean, they're 8 points off the pace set by Napoli at the moment. Have we got an in with Juventus against Parma? Do you think this is one where we see Motta try and shut up shop a little bit?
Yeah, I do think that's probably the way to play the games. It made Juventus have sort of hurt my brain actually over the past sort of week or so, and have made plenty of very smart people, smarter than me, people look rather silly, I think, in the week or so. So, an unbelievable start, didn't they, to the Serie A season, where their defensive output was really, it's quite outrageous, wasn't it? And I think even someone like me who doesn't really follow the Serie A that closely, it was really alerted to me how solid and how reliable this Juventus defence looked like it was going to be. They conceded just 1 goal in their first 8 Serie A games, which is absolutely remarkable. And it was backed up by the expected goal output as well. And I watched them actually against RB Leipzig as well in the Champions League with 10 men, where they managed to win the game as well. And I was just thinking, this looks a team that could be set for a pretty exciting season actually under Thiago Motta. And I was very, very confident. Backed them accordingly as well against Stuttgart in the Champions League at home last week, where I think they were around even money for the win. And surprisingly, they got absolutely battered by Stuttgart that night. I mean, they only lost 1-0, but they conceded 2.28 worth of expected goals and faced 22 shots. So egg on face for me there. I'm not for the first time, I must add, in my punting perils over the years. But so I thought I'll keep on trying to sort of figure out this Juventus side and see if there is an angle still with this great defence that they are building. And then so the low scoring angle then sort of appealed to me in the game with Inter at the weekend. And we know how that ended, didn't we? 4-4 it ended. Absolutely remarkable. So my under 2.5 play there also went awry. So it's been very frustrating sort of couple of weeks or so with Inter. And they conceded again 3.72 worth of expected goals in that game, Juve. So I just think we're in a spot here now where Juve have conceded more expected goals in their last 2 games than they did in their last previous 8 combined. So they're a really difficult team to try and have a strong view on at the moment, I think. So this game probably is a watching brief, just to see if anything settles down in terms of their numbers and their defensive output a bit again. But I think if I was sort of gun to head moment, I would be quite confident of them going back to being quite pragmatic and keeping things tight and becoming quite hard to score against under Thiago Motta in the sort of the longer term. So I wasn't quite brave enough to back this myself, but I did think the -120 for both teams to score no here against Parma was a little bigger than I expected. It was sort of a pick 'em between yes and no in that, and I did have it as sort of slightly shorter than no, just because it's landed for Juventus in 7 of their 9 league games this season, and I'm not sure Parma are the most reliable going forward either. They've only scored twice in their last 3, so it's one of those matches where you just think after conceding 4 goals, a team that's managed by a sort of a very astute manager in Thiago Motta are probably going to try and keep it tight. So those sort of score lines like 1-0, 2-0 Juventus, and probably even the 0-0 is a run. I think they've drawn a couple of games 0-0 this season. So I thought that -120 for both teams to score no had a lot of correct scores on your sort of likely correct scores on your side that I'd be looking to back. So Yes, it wasn't an official play for me, but if anyone was looking to get involved, I don't mind that one -120 for both teams to score no.
That's Juventus against Parma. Foxbury's been on talking about Empoli, saying they haven't scored at home so far this season, taking Inter team total over 2, Asian total around evens. Looks a better play, but Inter win to 0, worth a punt. And Foxbury, that Juve game was bonkers, 13 plus corners. And William the Congress says, hello, Dan, are you a professor in real life? Nigel knows what I do in real life. I'll let Nigel spill the beans at one stage or another. I do this for a living, obviously. Incidentally, money line, 98% the money, 97% tickets on Juve, and plenty going overs in the game. And we've had pretty much $1,000 play on Dusan Vlahovic to be the first goal scorer, +335. One of those ones, first goal scorer, low goal scoring, a go for, as Nigel always says, anytime goal scorer when there's more goals predicted. Just a quick word on the Atalanta game before we move on to some League Cup chat. We've had a play here. This is interesting. Matteo Retigui, who's been in brilliant form recently for Atalanta, $2,000 play pretty much. First goal scorer at +335. So if you're looking for goal scorers plays tonight and you want to follow in where the money's gone for Bet Rivers, you're looking at Vlahovic in the Juve Parma game and Retigui, who's Argentine born, of course, but Italian international, in the Atalanta game. As Will was talking about yesterday, Atalanta topped so many metrics charts. They're top of the league on expected points. They're top scorers in Italy as well. I mean, if you were playing Atalanta, I think it's -1.5 on the Asian line against Monza. I think I've only won a couple of games so far this season. Atalanta -118. It's incredible that they didn't beat Celtic the other day. But there you go. Ming's been back on saying that Juventus are difficult to trust now. That is true. That is the chat when it comes to Serie A. Let us know as you fancy in the comments as well. There's an awful lot of League Cup football we're going to get to. But one thing that we didn't take a look at yesterday, but myself and Lewis thought might be worth just a little bit of a look ahead of tonight's games, is the futures market for the League Cup in England. We've got City as the favourites +275, Arsenal +450, Chelsea and Liverpool 8-1 shots, Villa, United, Newcastle all 10-1. I mean, when we look at the futures there, the outrights for the League Cup, anything catch your eye? I mean, immediately you think surely a Brighton, a Newcastle, a Villa, an upwardly mobile, a Forest might sort of catch the eye. Forest aren't in it anymore, but do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that
I'd lay you Forest if you want.
Yeah, we can't. We try and find something in these markets, and then in the end, it's City or Liverpool or United or Chelsea that always seem to win. And what's your angle in when it comes to the futures?
Yeah, no, this is actually a market I really liked actually when I sort of dug into a bit deeper yesterday, and I did have a bet in the market yesterday. So it just revolves around Man City being too short at the head of the betting at +275 for me, taking up 27% of this market. And if anyone regular sort of listeners or followers of my work will know that I'm very sort of cold on Manchester City for this period of the season and actually looking ahead. So, and it's this competition over the past few years for them. It's not been one they've taken seriously at all. I mean, they've been knocked out against West Ham, Newcastle, and Southampton in the last 3 seasons, and there was sort of a similar theme, I think, to all those defeats in the fact they look quite unprepared and not overly motivated for the match. And I was actually at St Mary's covering the game when Southampton surprisingly beat them, when Nathan Jones got the better of Pep Guardiola, can you believe? And I remember just after the game, it was really sort of telling how jovial Pep Guardiola was, despite his team being knocked out of a competition. I think that's always sort of stuck with me, that he's sort of settled into. I think he won the EFL Cup or the Carabao Cup a few times early on in his tenure, didn't he? But the longer he's been in the job, the less seriously he's taken it, I think. And he's already talked down the competition, to be honest, ahead of this Spurs game. I think he's very sort of keen to give Haaland a rest and a lot of the other guys and bring through some of the youngsters to give them a shot. So, and I'm still sort of firmly married to this theory that Man City aren't going to be the force of old this season, and they're going to hit choppy waters at some point in the next couple of months. I don't think results have been affected yet, but I do think there have been some sort of worrying performances where they've been coming through on sort of fine margins. Again, against Southampton, again, they only 1-0 at home to Southampton. They did get a little bit ropey in the last sort of 5 minutes, and they were all sort of really, really short for that game. So definitely was looking to have a bet in this market. And the team that I came down on actually was Manchester United at a 10-1 available. You do need to be a one of the big six really for this competition. I know you mentioned it, you were sort of thinking about back in Brighton or Aston Villa, one of those teams, but it's won by a big six team more or less every year. The last team not to have been in the big six and win it was Swansea in 2013. So I do think you have to concentrate on the big guns. Once it gets to the quarterfinal stage and the semi-final stage, this is a competition that can put a lot in the bank for a manager if you go and win it. And I think this situation with Manchester United and the new manager is really interesting. And we've got to also reference they've won 2 major cup competitions in the last 2 years, and I think they're actually packed full of players that are used to sort of challenging and performing in these big matches, like we saw in the FA Cup final last season. And I'm sort of willing to invest in the appointment of Amorim. It's going to have a. It looks like he's the man for Manchester United. Everything seems to be moving quite quickly there. So he looks like he's going to be the man to replace Ten Hag, and I think he's going to have an immediate impact, to be honest. And I think he'll see this competition as an opportunity to get some early success on his side here, a bit like what Arteta did at Arsenal with the cup competitions early on, and what I mentioned there, Pep in his early stages at Manchester City really took the cup competition seriously to get that trophy under his belt. So, and United tonight, they're minus 500 to qualify against Leicester. So probably Amorim's going to turn up already in the quarterfinals of the cup. And when you actually think about draws in cup competitions, there's no team that gets luckier than Manchester United when it comes to getting a home draw. Some of the numbers involved in the luck they've had in terms of their cup draws, home draws, is remarkable. Here we are. This blew my mind earlier. They've been drawn at home 15 times out of the last 18 cup draws, including a spell of 12 home ties in a row where they were drawn at home. So if Manchester City are knocked out, and whether that is tonight or maybe in the quarterfinal, I definitely see there's definitely weakness in this City price. I just think added to sort of the upsurge in the United results, which I think will be on the horizon with Amorim, I don't think they should be 10-1, and I think they'll be a lot shorter than that after the quarterfinal draw is made. Hopefully, when they can sort of cruise through tonight against Leicester, and hopefully for this bet, City get knocked out Spurs. So I do think that 10-1 jumps off the page just with the likely improvement and just their record in cup competitions of late. And they've got some big game players, haven't they? I think they'll treat this competition really seriously, and I just want to get with that 10-1 before it shortens.
Yeah, got to remember as well that Portugal's one of the few nations outside of the UK that actually has a League Cup as well. It's one of those weird things. There's not too many nations in Europe that have it. So Ruben Amorim will be sort of used to that to a certain extent, just to have that secondary domestic cup competition. Nigel's been on, says Spurs favourites to win tonight, 12-1 to win the Carabao Cup compared to 3-1 Man City. If you like Spurs, you may as well have them to win the cup as well. Yeah, that's very true. You can certainly look at those sort of comparisons. Duncan says Pep strangely likes the League Cup. But Charlie says, I don't think it'll be that dramatic. There's some strong rotation. Yeah, I mean, Foxby talking about the rotation for City as well. But City's youngsters are good, although they've got to go quite deep into the well at the moment, haven't they? Because there's 1 or 2 youngsters that are out injured. Let's talk about some of the games that we've got here, because we've got plenty still to come to go in the show. Let's look at some of the League Cup fixtures that we've got. We're going to start with the Brighton-Liverpool game here. Brighton never been beyond the quarterfinal, incidentally, in the League Cup. They're plus 235. Liverpool plus 1 away. Brighton unbeaten in 3. Liverpool, of course, have won this competition more than any other, and indeed last year, Lewis. Any angle in when it comes to the match itself? I mean, Arne Slot started brilliantly, hasn't he? Won 11 of 13. He's going to rotate heavily from that sort of bruising encounter with Arsenal at the weekend. Do we back them at just a little bit bigger than even money here, or are Brighton a bit of value? What do you think?
No, I wouldn't put people off having a go at Liverpool here, actually. I thought that was a very acceptable price. And I was actually close to putting up Liverpool to sort of dutching mistakes between Manchester United and Liverpool in the outright, because they were 8-1. And I thought that was a little bit chunky, considering this is Slot's first season and he's going to be quite keen to get a trophy under his belt. And I think this is a winnable fixture for them, even with their second team potentially playing here. I mean, Brighton they do allow opposition lots of sort of room to play, and especially forward players, and that aggressive high line I think is leading to sort of them conceding a healthy number of shots on target and big chances shipped over the past few games. And I do think it sort of stems from the fact they haven't got Van Heck and Dunk available at the moment. I do think when those two play, it's the sort of platform that Hurtsler sort of builds his team from, and they can be very aggressive with their high line. They're really in sync, great cohesion, those two, Van Heck and Dunk. But Lewis, even though Van Hecker is back, Dunk is missing for this one with a calf strain. So I think they're going to lose a lot of cohesion back there. And as they've shown in the last 4 games, I mean, conceding goals really worryingly, actually, Brighton, because conceded 4 v Chelsea, where they were absolutely horrific for most of that game. 2 against Spurs, where they were produced a brilliant second half comeback, but in the first half they were absolutely wiped the floor with Spurs. I thought somehow got a clean sheet at Newcastle despite conceding 1.9 expected goals against, and then they conceded 2 late goals versus Wolves, didn't they, at the weekend? So I think they're quite an easy team now to create big chances against, and I think even Liverpool's sort of second string attack, the likes of Diaz is probably going to play, Gakpo's going to play. You'd have thought Nunez will play some part. I think they're all good enough here to really create big opportunities against this Brighton team. And it's actually Cody Gakpo's price that where my eyes were drawn at here. Because he only played 27 minutes off the bench against Arsenal, and he's likely to play most of the game here because Jota and Chiesa are both out. Nunez and Salah, they're both likely to be rested. Nunez has played back-to-back games now. So we could see a situation where Gakpo even plays through the middle, and obviously that will increase his chances of getting on the score sheet. And I just like him as a player, actually. I think we're starting to see he's developing into a borderline sort of world-class talent now, especially the way he played for Holland in the summer. Really their best player, wasn't he? Really dangerous, loves to get shots away, good movement. And he's a reliable finisher when he gets in there as well. And he's actually scored the most goals in the League Cup or the Carabao Cup, however you want to call it, since the start of last season than any other player. He scored 6 and he netted twice versus West Ham in the last round as well. So his sort of price has jumped off the page from here in a game I'm expecting Liverpool to get a couple of goals in. So I'm going to back his anytime goal scorer price here at plus 290. But my sort of angle attack is to have a saver on him to have a shot on target as well in the game at minus 133, which I thought was a little bit too big, actually. So 2 nice prices there, and I think if you sort of combine the staking behind, so maybe 75% on the goal scorer bet and then 25% on the shot on target price, I don't think you go too far wrong with that method of attack. So yeah, Gakpo any time for me. I think if you wanted to back Liverpool just on the money line, I wouldn't put you off at all.
Yeah, Liverpool, just to qualify, BetRivers have had a $10,000 play at minus 167, and just to win in the 90, an $1,100 play at plus 117. So there's been some good support for Liverpool. We like Gakpo when it comes to shots and anytime goal scorer. Let's get back to the prices. Got a lot to get through when it comes to the League Cup. Villa Palace here. Villa are minus money favourites, as are Arsenal. I don't know what sort of team I do know what sort of team they're going to put out, but it's going to be very young. Minus 315 to beat Preston. I mean, Preston are no great shakes. They'll rotate as well. When it comes to the other games on our first page of prices here, Lewis, anything grab you? Villa Palace and Preston. I mean, I look at Arsenal and they steamroll Bolton. That was mix and match, and it will be Waneri and Lewis Skelly, and I think Nichols might play right back, and it'll be Tommy Setford, who's a young kid they got in from Ajax as the keeper. But I still wouldn't want to back him at minus 315. And same with Villa. I mean, Oliver Glasner off the back of her first win in Premier League win of the season, he'll just want to keep a bit of momentum. What do you think? Villa Palace, Preston, Arsenal. Anything catch your eye in those two?
No official plays, but I do think that it's going to be a low scoring one, that Arsenal Preston game. I think you know what Arsenal are like on the road, don't we? I know they're not going to all of a sudden change the way they play and start steamrolling teams and opening the floodgates and playing attacking football. I think Preston also, they're probably sitting as well. So I could see a cagey low scoring affair there if I was going to head down that angle. Villa Palace, Palace were very impressive, weren't they, at the weekend against Tottenham? Restricted Tottenham to very little, even when they went 1-0 up. Spurs found it more or less impossible to try and break through their system, and that was the first sort of signs we've seen, I think, that the way that Glasner sets up his team out of possession is really difficult to play at this season, like it was towards the back end of last season, just without the cherry on top of Elise, obviously. So if he goes strong at Villa Park, then you probably could give Palace a little squeak there, because obviously Villa have got minds elsewhere, haven't they? Obviously Champions League is going to be the be-all and end-all for them this season. So again, I think the prices were right when I was having a little look, but again, I'd like to just watch Palace again to see if they can do what they did to Spurs at the weekend, because it was a very impressive performance from them.
Yeah, it depends on team news as well, of course. As Will was pointing out yesterday, the team news comes in, the prices go mad. He's got to be fast as his finger first to try and get on some of the bigger prices when team news comes out. Steve says, any insight info? No to that, Steve. Kurt says, Duran over 3.5 shots, Liverpool over 2.5 sides, What do we think, Lewis? I don't know if Lewis looks at those markets. I might have to delve into his spreadsheet for that one.
What I would say about that, I'm not sure about Duran's shots without knowing the price, but with that Liverpool offsides theory, obviously against Brighton and this ridiculous offside trap that they play, it is a lot more appealing to back offsides against when Dunk and Van Heck are both playing. Because there was only 2 offsides or 3 offsides against Wolves the other day when they both weren't there. And I do think he might have just dropped a little bit deeper without those 2 playing. So offsides against are maybe drying up a little bit. But if Nunez starts centre forward, the over 2.5 line would be live, because that guy was just born offside, wasn't he, Nunez? So
great knowledge. Nice comment from Skirt as well. I think a lot of people have picked up on that. Villa Palace, both teams to score, yes. Looks a fair price according to Reese. Nigel keeps banging on about Aberdeen against Rangers. They were 3-1 now, plus 225. They should be the favourites for that one. Second best team in Scotland, currently ahead of a very poor Rangers side. This match is being priced upon reputation, says Nigel. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I know Aberdeen are going well, but I'm not really across it, I must admit. Rich says Duran very, very much shoot on sight. In terms of money around for those games, we've seen a little bit on Palace over 3.5 total corners, near 4-figure play on that one. And in the Preston Arsenal game, there's been a near 4-figure play on over 4.5 goals in the game. Most of the money's gone overs. Most of the money has gone on Arsenal as well. Let's get to our second page of League Cup fixtures here, because Lewis has got a few plays in these, and we're already into the second half of the show, so to speak. United against Leicester, minus 360. United, Leicester 9-1 shots. We'll talk about United first of all. 6-time winners. Eric Ten Hag won this. Ruud van Nistelrooy, who Steve cheekily said might score in this game, and to be honest, he'd probably be better than some of the United strikers at the minute. He is going to be on the dugout for this one. A great reception. He's been there since the start of the season. He didn't do particularly well at PSV, but there he goes, a United legend. There has been support, obviously, for United and for the overs. What's the angle for United Leicester, Lewis?
Yeah, I think Van Nistelrooy. I think that is the angle, the Van Nistelrooy angle. Actually, I think he is going to want to make a bit of an impression, isn't he? Obviously not. Obviously, he can't pick himself and grab the winning goal. But I'm sure this is going to be a big night for him, isn't it? It's probably going to be his only ever chance to manage Manchester United. I think now with Amorim coming in, his probably chance has gone of getting the job. So I think he's going to pick a strong team. And Leicester, Steve Cooper, I listened to his press conference yesterday, didn't look overly enthused about the fact of going to have to play Manchester United. Said all the right things, but said he's going to make changes. And he mentioned the Ipswich game about 6 times, I think, in his press conference yesterday on Saturday. So I think we know where his and Leicester's priorities lie this season. And I don't really think their first team is strong enough to stop most teams in the Premier League. So it could be a bit of a long night for Leicester if they make changes and their defence is as shaky as it had been. And if United start taking some of these chances that they're creating, then they're going to give a team a walloping soon, I think, because I do feel a bit sorry for Ten Hag in that regard, because I actually thought it was actually one of the better performances I've seen Manchester United put in during his tenure, I think, on the weekend. I mean, towards the back end of last season when they were so woeful, they were a million miles away from that, I thought, against on Saturday. They should have been 3-4-0 up at half-time. I mean, some of the chances that was missed, the Dalot miss especially,
Dalot
it was just
a shocker, wasn't it? Yeah.
Just comical, really. So as long as, I think they're creating the chances and they're moving the ball very nicely. Garnacho seems lively at the moment. Rashford in and out still, but he's got the quality, isn't he? Fernandes he's on a bit of a goal drought. He'll want to end that tonight probably. So yeah, I can see a very sort of one-sided game here, but the price is just aligned with that. So there was no bet for me there. But there was the angle that I was looking at was actually in the cards market. And because in cup competitions, I do like the undercards line if there's going to be a one-sided game, because in the last 50 Carabao Cup 4th round matches, the average yellow card count is just 2.1 per game, which is
lovely stat. Lovely.
That's way down on where the usual Premier League averages lie, which are up near 5 this season. And we've got a referee here in charge here called Andy Madley, who is probably the most lenient referee in the top flight. He's only shown 3.3 cards per 90 in the last 50 Premier League games. So if you can get on these card bets in your sort of jurisdiction, wherever you're based, then I just think makes the plus 140 on the under 3.5 total match cards line look very big, and that's sort of going to be one of my bigger plays of the evening. I think under 3.5 total match cards at plus 140 was big, because I can see Man United being 2-0, 3-0 up with 60 minutes to go. with 60 minutes gone, and sort of the game fizzing out a little bit. And Leicester, as I mentioned, they're going to have one eye on this massive game with Ipswich on Saturday. So I think the game, if Man United get into an early lead, could be a bit of a procession. And when there's a procession and the intensity drops out of a match, that's where the undercards lines come in. So I think there's plenty of evidence to take that line of thinking for this one.
Yeah, good analysis. Really like that one. That's United Leicester. Obviously, we know that all states don't offer the card markets, but there are a number that do. Obviously, check where you are to see if you want to play with that. We had one or two messages regarding cards. Foxy says, any thoughts on over 5 Asian cards in the Newcastle-Chelsea game? Chris Kavanagh, the ref in charge, is having 7 cards per game in the league. But as Lewis has just pointed out, Fox Fee, it is a very different beast when it comes to the cup. Let's talk about Newcastle-Chelsea next then. Newcastle, the last I looked, they were just about favourites. In fact, they've been back today, plus 135, plus 155. Chelsea have drifted out. I mean, I was listening to a podcast about Chelsea saying they have got almost like-for-like replacements in every single position. Now, their second string, to me, could be very good. I know Newcastle probably need a little bit of a lift at the minute because things are starting to peter out at St James's Park. But I mean, if Chelsea inch towards 2-1, I'd be interested in backing them. Obviously, it depends on the lineup here, but they've won 7 of their last 10. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on cards or any thoughts full stop on Newcastle Chelsea, Lewis.
Cards-wise, this was the only fixture where I didn't actually like the unders line. It was because I think this is a really big game actually for Newcastle, and it will be treated like could be a Premier League fixture under the lights, really, because I think this is a really big night for Eddie Howe. Actually, I think he's starting to lose a little bit of goodwill with the Newcastle fans actually, and they're starting to turn slightly on him. I think they were getting away with some sort of really flat performances at the start of the season by sort of winning games where they didn't really deserve to win, but they're sort of doing the opposite now, where they're playing okay, but results just aren't dropping their way, and the goals have absolutely dried up for Newcastle. There's no win in their last 5 Premier League games now. Scored just 3 goals in that period, and they're 12th in the Premier League, which didn't really surprise me actually, based on how I've watched them now for a long time since the start of last season. And they just, when I'm sort of trying to price up a game and analyse a team, they do strike me as a mid-table team now under Eddie Howe. It's gone a bit stale, I think, and the reason this is such a big game for him tonight is because they need to go far in this cup competition, I think, because it's now 55 years since they won their last trophy, which was the Intercities Fairs Cup. Could that even count as a major trophy? I'm not sure. No. It's been longer than that since they actually won a proper trophy. That was 1955 in the FA Cup. So I just think with no European football this season, and they're looking really way below the standards required for a top 4 finish, I think. The Carabao Cup and the FA Cup going to have to take priority, aren't they? Even above the league, I think. So I do get the vibes from Eddie Howe that he is going to take this very seriously tonight, and hopefully Anthony Gordon's going to be back from his groin issue. They might rush him back for this one because it is such a big game for them. But I don't want to back them, really. I can't back them under Howe at the moment. I just think they've become very predictable in what they're going to do, and they really struggle against teams like Chelsea that can turn the ball over quickly and counter-attack. I think we saw that with the 2 goals that Chelsea scored on Sunday. So it's and even if they bring in Nkunku, if they bring in Felix, if they bring in Mudryk, it's a little bit of a drop off on Parma, I think, but it's not that second Chelsea 11 probably still finishes above Newcastle over a season. Do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the point, isn't it? Wherever you look, I know that he went with Caicedo and Lavia, didn't he, at the weekend, and that seems to be the 2. But, you know, if you're bringing in Fernandes and change the shape a little bit, I mean, as you say, the drop-offs, if they are drop-offs, are minor at most positions. Same with the fullback.
Dewsbury Hall as well, brilliant. He hasn't really kicked on yet at Chelsea, but he was probably the best player in the Championship last season. Maresca knows him really well, and I think he'd probably get in the Newcastle team, wouldn't he, in that midfield at the moment, which isn't really functioning, I would say. But I just thought the game, it screamed entertainment and goals, actually, and I'd really like the over 3 goals on the Asian line here at plus money, just up at 105. So that means obviously stakes are returned if there are exactly 3 goals, but we get full stakes win if there are 4 or more. And I can see this game escalating a little bit into a bit of a shootout, to be honest, because Chelsea, they do score a lot of goals and they attack very, very well. 5 of their 6 away games under Maresca have 3 or more goals scored. Although goals have been in short supply, people are going to be shouting at me saying that Newcastle goals have been in short supply recently. But the expected goals numbers behind their games recently have been absolutely crazy. and painting the picture of goals. So there's been 6 goals scored in their last 4 games in total, but the expected goal numbers suggested there should have been 13.1 goals scored. So there's been chances flying in at both ends still. So I still want to be backing goals in Newcastle games because if you look at a bigger sample size over since the start of last season, no team averaged more goals in their games than Newcastle last year at 3.87, and I do think that will turn back into the goals favour soon enough, and I want to be backing it when it does, and I think it will do here. So yeah, over 3 goals on the Asian line plus money. I thought that was very nice.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they should have beat Brighton. I think their expected goals against Brighton when they didn't score was over 2, wasn't it? And I think the key things is what you've just been talking about. It's the same group of players. It's the same manager. So you've got to expect the same type of things. And although the goals haven't been coming, the sort of underlying figures would suggest that is true. One more game to look at for the League Cup is Spurs against Man City. Just remind ourselves of the prices here. Spurs here are plus 165. City are favourites just plus 155. Tie plus 265 here. Over and under. The goal line is 3.5. We were talking off air just before this. Lucy's got a brilliant stat here. I mean, look, depending on team news, City could go off the dogs here. Lewis, couldn't they? I mean, it'd be incredible if they did. I mean, there's a lot of disrespect with City here against Spurs. Why is that? And what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, it's a fascinating market, this, isn't it? I mean, Spurs could go off favourites. And I think if Haaland doesn't start, I think they might go off favourites here, which is unheard of them for City to go off an official underdog in a 2-horse race. It actually hasn't happened in all competitions since they played Real Madrid away last season. But in the Premier League, and this is why it's fascinating, because I went through all of Man City's prices in the Premier League over the past sort of however long Guardiola's been there. And the last time they didn't go off favourites in a match in the Premier League was in 2017 against Chelsea. And that was during Pep's first season in charge. So in every game since, that's 284 Premier League matches they have gone off favourites. And that could end. I know it's not a Premier League game, but it's still a domestic game. And that could end tonight if the market shifts in Spurs' favour. So do find this really, really interesting. There's been no support or confidence behind City in this competition, something which I've already talked about with the outright prices. And I'm a bit sad, really, because Spurs, I was really looking forward to backing Spurs here on the double chance and trying to get somewhere near. I was hoping sort of minus 180 or something, but no chance. The minus 200 now on the double chance. So that avenue for me has gone out the window. That's too short. I can't get involved with Spurs at minus 200. So it doesn't seem like Ange Postecoglou is going to pick a first choice team either, which is very sort of, it bamboozles me a little bit because he's been talking about wanting to win a trophy in his second season, etc. And this is a fantastic opportunity for Tottenham to go and do this. And they should really be going all guns blazing to try and beat an understrength City here. But I don't think they are. They're going to make changes. He's going to utilise the squad, which is absolutely his priority. That's what he's got to do. He's got to manage the long term. But I think he should really prioritise this game. So I'll swerve back in Spurs here. And my interest is just in the outright, really. Hopefully City can get eliminated and it opens up the market nicely for my Manchester United play to win it. I think the draw might be a runner though, Dan, to be honest, because Tottenham haven't drawn a home game under Postecoglou yet. It's 27 games without a home draw. So I think one could be around the corner, and this game has that potential, I think. So plus 250 for the draw, maybe that sort of stood out. But I'm just sort of hoping personally that City play the kids, get knocked out, and then all roads lead to Manchester United winning the Carabao. I think, hopefully.
I'd take that one. Most of the money's come for City. Most of the money's come for overs, and we've had a near 4-figure play on over 13.5 total shots for Spurs at plus 148. Someone's hoping that Spurs have a good night. Duncan says, come back Tottenham at any price. I agree. We say it on the Premier League show every week. Every time that they're short prices, you have to swerve them. Foxfrey talking about Richarlison, saying stuff will go down if Vinny Jr. did not win the Ballon d'Or. Should we look at Richarlison? I mean, he'll probably start. He's fit again, isn't he? I think
he will start. Yeah, I think he's got to start. I think. Yeah,
I think he's got to. Yeah,
he's a dangerous player on his day, but is he going to be fit? Is he going to be ready? And that's the problem with these Carabao Cup matches from a punting point of view, isn't it? You don't know how fit some of these players are going to be, how long they're going to last, especially if you're back in his prop lines or his shots lines. He could play 60 minutes and then go. So it's very difficult night of punting. But hey, we got to be in it to win it, haven't you? So we'll have
absolutely. Ange says, Steve says, if Ange doesn't take seriously, then it's silly. He's talked
I thought you said Ange was on the line then. I thought Ange was on the line. He's coming at me for my.
Sorry, mate. Give me a call back later. He talks about wanting to win a trophy here. Could it be mind games? Yes, Spurs will go strong and they'll still get beat. Lorenzo Mendiola says, over 2.5 in Feyenoord Ajax. That's, the Classica in the Eredivisie, isn't it, tonight? Crikey. That'll be hot on and off the pitch. I won't go anywhere near that if I was a football fan, but I know that some people like it. From a betting point of view, don't really follow the Eredivisie. I know it's a massive overs league. Anyway, we're going to get Lewis's best bet shortly. We're still waiting for Shakespeare to give us his play on the baseball. I've got some really nice numbers on the baseball as well. Just going to rattle through the South American action for you that's coming your way tonight. We've got semi-finals of both the Copa Libertadores and the Copa Sudamericana. Second legs here. Penarol against Botafogo is the Copa Libertadores fixture. That's slightly later, 8:30 Eastern time here. Botafogo won the first leg 5-0. I mean, they were lucky to win it 5. It was 0-0 at half-time. The expected goals was 1.6 to 0.42. So Penarol a little bit unlucky. They're top of the Uruguayan league. Botafogo top of Serie A in Brazil. Might be of both teams to score no if you look at some of the underlying metrics and also unders. Potentially. And the Lanus Cruzeiro game, this is a difficult one to call. Lanus are favourites here. They're terrible at the moment in Argentine football in the Primera. They are 26th of 28 in their rather bloated top flight in Argentina. They haven't won in 90 minutes in any of their last 11. 9 of their 11 have been under 2.5 goals. We've had 7 draws as well. The goal line is 1.5 here. They create a little bit more in the Copa Sudamericana, but this is a step up against Cruzeiro. 1-1 the first leg in Brazil. Cruzeiro, 9 of their last 10 under 2.5, including the last 5. We've had 5 of the last 7 draws. They are 8th in Serie A. It all points to a draw to me, but it is pretty short at 2-1. That's the South American action that is coming your way. In terms of where the money's going for these 2 games, Botafogo at Penarol, we have seen a $1,500 play on Javier Mendes under 0.5 shots on target at -400. That looks like buying money, doesn't it? Money line, 90% of the money on Penarol, 77% of the tickets on Botafogo. So the big money for the Uruguayan league leaders, but most of the small plays on the Brazilian side. And when it comes to the over-unders, most of the money in the tickets have come on the unders. Likewise for the Lanus Cruzeiro game, most of the money on Cruzeiro, 8% of the tickets on Lanus, most going unders for that one. Let's just remind ourselves of the MLB. I'm still waiting for Shakespeare to come on in. He leaves it late every single show. Steve's being has a red card, yes, usually worth a look when it comes to the Feyenoord Ajax game. Yeah, he's very, very feisty. Have a look at that.
Both teams red card. That's always you got.
Yeah,
if there's value in the 1 red card, there's definitely value in the 2 red cards, and you can just pray it kicks off. I like that.
Yeah, it probably would do. Shakespeare has come on. I'm like, Shakespeare. No bet in the World Series tonight, Dan. I see no value. How disciplined can he be? I've been waiting all day for Shakespeare's play.
Sometimes the best bet is no bet.
Is no bet. Shakespeare. What can I say?
I respect.
He's hanging up his quill. His quill's been hung. He's not writing out any more betting slips, and that is it. Dodgers lead 3-1. They can win the World Series if they win tonight. Freddie Freeman has been the man, breaking all sorts of records. Another home run last night. Yankees won 11-4. Incidentally, Game 5 tonight at the Yankee Stadium. This is what the market looks like for the MLB tonight. Dodgers plus 123 in the Bronx, of course. Yankees minus 143. Run line there, plus 1.5 for the Dodgers, minus 187, giving away that 1.5 start. The Yankees plus 150. Total runs over and under, minus 118 over, under minus 104. Most of the money has come for the Yankees, as it did yesterday. Hopefully you were on that. We had some big plays, as we reported right at the top of the show. Over and under, most of the money is on the unders, most of the tickets on the over. And when it comes to the World Series futures markets, are you getting a little nervous, Dodgers fans? Shakespeare's back on. Exactly, Lewis. I'll be writing instead. It'd be a first work of fiction, Shakespeare, for a long time. If you're back at the typewriter or the quill or however you.
Times have changed, though, Shakespeare. Times have changed.
Times have changed. Yeah, get your laptop out, son. I don't know if Dodgers fans are getting nervous. They're minus 1115 to win the World Series. The Yankees are plus 650. They were 12-1 yesterday. Total games played. Over 6.5 plus 250, under 6.5 minus 335. And if you think the Dodgers go in 4-1, well, that's plus 120. 4-2 plus 200. Yankees 4-3 win, obviously the same as a Yankees World Series win at plus 650. A reminder, we had some big wagers on the Dodgers over the course of the last year, including that near $5,000 play at plus 650 back in December of last year. Well done, whoever that is. Shakespeare, disappointed. Don't know if you're going to be back, because this might be the last game. If the Dodgers win, Shakespeare, hopefully you'll be with us for basketball action and so on over the course of the NBA season. We've run a little bit long today, so thanks for your company. We need Lewis's best bet before we depart. Lewis, what's your best play tonight?
I do like the undercards line. Actually, I do always like backing the undercards line in these Carabao Cup matches at this stage of the tournament. So if you can get on in your jurisdiction, I would be all over the plus 140 on the under 3.5 total match cards in Manchester United versus Leicester. But if you can't get on, I would just back Manchester United outright 10-1 for the trophy, because I do think the appointment of Amorim is the right one. I think he'll have an immediate impact. So 10-1 too big.
10-1 on the futures when it comes to United. Watch out for those cards markets for the cup games. We're expecting few cards tonight. Should be a good night of soccer and baseball. Make sure you stick with us at Because We Win on X. Many thanks to Lewis and for his company today. We're going to be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. Good luck tonight. Let us know your bets. Tag us in if you are tailing. A dissident is here, was it? He was telling us last night. Gave Will Dissident29 on Twitter, who was telling us with the shots on target. So if anyone's telling us, let us know on Twitter and we'll give you a shout out on the show. From all of us for now, though, that is goodbye.